everyone, my name is Al and I am a geologist. And it's been quite some time since I've made a video. In my defense, not long after my most recent video, I actually got a job. I'm working in a lab now, so I haven't really had the time nor energy to make and edit videos. But I had an idea last week that would be a little bit easier for me to handle because it would hopefully not take as much time editing, but we'll see. And that idea, to sort of help ease me into making videos again, is to do a tour of my rock collection. And no, that's not a euphemism. I mean the rock collection that I've been working on since I was a kid. I think that having a rock collection is actually one of the requirements for a geology degree. There's field camp, and then having a rock collection. Those are the two main things. I should make a video about field camp. I did not enjoy field camp. Anyways, today I'm going to be showing off some of my rocks and minerals that I've collected over the years. Some of them I purchased, some of them I collected out in the field, some of them were given to me by friends and family, and I actually have a few specimens that were collected by my great-grandparents, who in their youths were actually rock hounds. Without further ado, let's just jump right in. So the first stop in my rock collection tour are these, I'm trying to be quiet while I'm holding it up because these are moving and making noise, are these sort of white trays with little boxes, little cubicles in them. My mom actually helped me a lot when I was first starting my rock collection, and she had a label maker and got all these boxes for me and labeled all these boxes and helped me sort everything. And I just sort of kept doing it for a lot of my smaller specimens. It's a lot safer to store them in these smaller containers, and also I kind of like having some of my rarer things being more organized, because it can take a little bit more time to identify a mineral or rock that you don't come across as often. Sometimes you just want to take out a sample of beryl and you don't want to have to identify it. Speaking of beryl, I believe that beryl is in this box, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, time to open this first one. Okay, let's see if I can show it off without everything falling out. Ta-da! Looks like we've got some chalcopyrite, which is very good at tripping up intro geology students on the pronunciation. Malachite, fluorite, microcline. I've got some beryl right here. In its green form is known as emerald, and in its blue form is known as aquamarine, both of which are birthstones. I got some talc, some pyrite, fool's gold. That's what my shirt says. I got sulfur, corundum. Oh yeah, corundum. Corundum is actually the mineral that rubies and sapphires are made up of. When a corundum is a specific shade of red, it's known as ruby, and any other color is called a sapphire. Plagioclase, don't care about that. Apatite, fun fact, there's actually apatite in your teeth. Gypsum, calcite. Ooh, calcite is a really good one. So calcite is a very interesting mineral. It's very common in sedimentary rocks, specifically sedimentary rocks like limestone or dolostone. And it is a favorite, I think, of mine because it has a couple of very unique properties. The first unique property of calcite is that it displays what we refer to as double refraction or birefringence. Basically, this means that if you were to get a sample of calcite that is really nice and clear, like the one that I'm holding up right now, and you put it on a sheet of paper that had printed words on it, the words would appear twice, sort of like double vision. It's pretty cool, but it's not a very useful method of identifying it because you need to find a specimen of calcite that is clear enough to use it, and most of the calcite you come across in the field isn't going to be that clear. The other unique property of calcite, and the one that is more widely used to identify it, particularly out in the field, is it reacts with acid. So calcite is calcium carbonate, which is a base. So when it comes into contact with an acid, it will have a reaction. The most widely used acid that we use to identify rocks that have calcite in it, or just calcite itself, is usually dilute hydrochloric acid. Yes, hydrochloric acid is a strong acid, but we dilute it down until it's no more dangerous than vinegar, which is acetic acid. It's really cool. If I can find a GIF or a picture or something online, I will try to put it up here. Oh, also, while I'm talking about calcite, this is not from the little boxes, but I like this specimen a lot. Isn't it cool? It's got these giant calcite crystals on it. I love it so much. My mom gave this to me. Alright, that is one box done. Time to move on to the next one. More minerals. Kaolinite. Lots of kaolinite. Kaolinite is a clay mineral. Here. Kaolinite is a clay mineral. Clay mineral is a term that geologists use to refer to a group of minerals that a lot of clay-sized grains are made up of, and they are usually secondary or even tertiary minerals. Basically, you get initial minerals forming, and then once those minerals undergo a lot of weathering, particularly chemical weathering, then they break down until they become a clay mineral like kaolinite. Kaolinite, supposedly, you can identify by putting your tongue on it, and then if it sticks to your tongue, that's a good way to tell. But I've never done that because I don't really want to. I've got some galena. Galena is the state rock of Wisconsin. It is actually a very cool mineral. It is lead sulfide, which means that it has a very high specific gravity. If you sort of heft it in your hand, it's going to feel a lot heavier than it looks like it should be, and that's because of the lead in it. I got some sphalerite, hornblende, magnetite. As the name magnetite suggests, this is magnetic. If you get a magnet and put it on it, it'll stick. I don't know where any of my magnets are. Just trust me. Pyroxene, marble. Marble's not a... Oh, some of these are rocks. Graphite. Graphite is what pencil lead is made out of. It is actually pure carbon, like diamonds. It's just that the carbon is arranged in a different crystal structure, which is why graphite looks so different from diamonds. Dolomite. Dolomite is sort of like calcite's second cousin. It's very similar, but not quite the same. Chalk. That's made of calcite. Limestone, made of calcite. Oolite. I'd show you my oolite, but they're not very good quality specimens. Here's some coal, some anthracite coal. I got some bituminous coal too. I've got all the kinds of coal, dang. Alright. Done with that one. Moving on to the next one. We got sphalerite again. I organized these recently. Why do I have two separate sphalerite things? Pegmatite, those are cool. A lot of obsidian, some vermiculite. Vermiculite is another clay mineral. Vermiculite was actually present in some of the soil samples that I used for my master's thesis. Some garnet. Ooh, yes. This one. Oh, I've got a nice dodecahedral garnet. I actually bought this one because it's very difficult to find these. Garnet will naturally make this dodecahedral shape. I think that it's because of the crystal form or crystal structure or system or one of those things. Kyanite. Kyanite is a really cool mineral. I had a pet rat that I named Kyanite. Olivine, molybdenite, pitchstone. I should know what that is. Travertine. Ooh, travertine's cool. Travertine forms at, I think it's a hot spring deposit. Halite. This is the one that, if I were to lick any of the specimens in my rock collection, I would lick this one. Halite is sodium chloride, aka salt. Halite is rock salt. I actually have licked halite to identify it before. I think it's a rite of passage for geologists, like, hey, you have to lick the halite sample in mineralogy. I'm not going to lick this one, though, because I know what halite tastes like, and I'm not sure where I got this, so I'm not sure where it's been. So, gonna put that one back in there without licking it. Sorry. Tourmaline, this is another one that I bought. If you Google tourmaline, you're gonna get a lot of pictures of, like, really cool multicolored like gemstones. I don't care about those. I like this kind of tourmaline. It's cool. It's better. It's got a cool shape. It's got sort of a similar-ish shape to beryl almost. They're both cyclosilicates. And I've got some biotite and muscovite. Biotite and muscovite are both varieties of what we call mica. The mica group of minerals is a group of minerals that are phyllosilicates, and they are known for their one fantastic plane of cleavage. Cleavage planes are something that we use to identify minerals. It refers to planes of weakness within the crystal lattice structure along which the mineral will preferentially break. Lepidolite. Lepidolite, can I get it out? Okay. Lepidolite is a pink or purple variety of mica, and it just so happens to be my favorite mineral. Got some right here. Can I get this one out yet? Got it! It's not the most common of minerals, which is part of the reason that I like it a lot. Its name comes from the ancient Greek lepidos, meaning scaled. I think that's a reference to the fact that it's a mica, and they sort of like peel off like scales. Yes, this jar used to hold a Bath & Body Works candle. Okay, another one. I have to move through these faster because otherwise I'm going to end up with like an hour-long video and I still won't be done with everything. I have so many rocks. Looks like we've moved away from the minerals. I think we're mostly onto just rocks now. Some shale, quartzite, schist. Ooh, yes. This I actually collected out in the field myself. It's very sparkly. That's because it shows schistose foliation, which I'm not gonna get into. It's the like diagnostic criteria of schist is that it displays schistose foliation. It's the schist. I got some Arcos here, gabbro, bauxite. This is a not very good sample. How's this one? This one's better. I got some gneiss. Like I put at the end of my video. This is not a nice sample of gneiss that I've got right here. Oh, yes, my breccia samples. Yes. Breccia is, I think, maybe my favorite rock. Breccia is a specific kind of sedimentary rock that forms under very specific circumstances. It is like a conglomerate rock, if you've ever heard of conglomerate. Basically, conglomerate is if you got a bunch of different grain sizes and just sort of like glommed them all together and it turned into a rock. But with a conglomerate, the grains are going to be round. With breccia, the grains are angular. They're sharp and jagged. And because of the way that a rock like a conglomerate or breccia forms, it's a lot more common to have the grains be rounded than angular. And there are like only a few specific circumstances under which breccia forms. Okay, we've officially moved on from the things that I have labeled really nicely, and now these are just the things that I have stored in here because they're smaller and they will break if I try to store them in a larger box. Oh, I've got some fossils! Oh, I'm pretty sure that this is one of the fossils that was given to me by my great-grandparents. It's a nice little fern fossil in some shale. I think this is a petrified wood of some sort. I've got a whole bunch of different kinds of fossiliferous limestone. There's a lot of fossiliferous limestone where I'm from. I'm from the American Midwest, and we have a lot of limestone and a lot of fossiliferous limestone here because not long ago, during the Cretaceous, the Midwest was actually underwater. It was under a very shallow, warm ocean. Those are very good conditions for limestone to form, particularly fossiliferous limestone, which would be limestone that has a lot of fossils in it. These have mostly... This one right here has some crinoids in it. It's got some bryozoans in it. Speaking of crinoids, look at this jar of crinoids. Yes, it's another Bath & Body Works jar. It was originally in a jar that wasn't see-through, so you couldn't see it well enough. Crinoids are one of the most abundant fossils, particularly the most abundant fossil that you'll find in limestone, which is, I think, the kind of rock that you're going to be most likely to find a fossil in, at least in the Midwest. Crinoids do still live today. They are sometimes called sea lilies, and they live at the bottom of the ocean. And they are sort of like, they have like these long stalks and then like feathery bits at the end. But because of how fossilization works, it's the stalks that tend to get preserved of crinoids. This is a kind of nice little bit of a stalk of a crinoid. Most commonly, though, you're not going to see it as in like a nice little stick like this. You're going to see them what we call disarticulated, meaning that it's broken apart. The stalk is made up of like a lot of little bits that are connected to each other, like a backbone. Your backbone is made up of multiple vertebrae. And crinoids are made up of multiple vertebrae, sort of, but their vertebrae are shaped like Cheerios. And when we see these little Cheerios in rocks, we call them disarticulated crinoids. Versus if I saw this in a rock, I'd say that this is an articulated crinoid. I've also got some like fossilized coral of some sort. I don't know a lot about coral. Oh, and I almost forgot my favorite kind of fossil, ammonites. Ammonites are my favorite. I love them so much. These aren't even all of my ammonites. I think I have more ammonites in one of my other containers. But look at them. They're so cool. They went extinct at the end of the Cretaceous. They were one of the victims of the KT extinction event. And they were just really, really cool. They came in a lot of different shapes. They were around for a really, really long time. They actually were kind of hurt a lot by, I think, the end Triassic extinction event, and they were sort of struggling, and then the Cretaceous extinction event was enough to kill them off. But they look sort of like squid, but in like snail shells. That is very cool, is it not? This next box is just like chock full of geodes. Geodes, fun fact, are the state rock of Iowa. And they are the state rock of Iowa because you can actually collect them along the Mississippi River. One of the geodes I have in my collection right here, I actually collected in Iowa myself. I collected it in Keokuk, or as the locals call it, Kilcuck. It is not very interesting on the outside, but on the inside, very cool. It's got some, could be calcite, could be quartz, most likely quartz. Most geodes have quartz in them. But the most interesting thing about it is that on the inside, it has kaolinite. It has the clay mineral kaolinite in it. When I broke it open, it just sort of like poofed everywhere. It was great. Geodes can have things other than just straight up crystals in them. They can have things like clay minerals in them, or they can even have liquid in them, like water or oil. But of course, once you open the ones that have liquid in them, the liquid goes away, and then it's like, oh. I'm very proud of it. I like it a lot. Most of these geodes I didn't actually collect and break open myself. I just purchased or they were given to me. This is some good quartz. It's a nice little, like, classical crystal shape. When it grows in this shape, it's due to its crystal habit. To make a kind of complicated concept simple, crystal habit is basically the shape that a crystal will form in if it's given enough room. Quartz. Here it is. The last one of these white boxes, not the last of my rock collection. I have so much more left. But let's see what's in here. Fossils! Oh, yes. Ooh, and some fossils that have labels with them, too. Most of my fossils don't have labels because they're things that were given to me, or I collected out in the field myself, or I purchased them somewhere, and wherever I purchased them from, they decided not to give me information on them. But in theory, a reputable fossil seller will give you a little slip of paper that has information about the fossil, namely where it is from, and ideally also how old it is. Let's see here. Ooh, yes. I've got a fat copse, a trilobite. I almost dropped it. Nice rolled up little trilobite. These went extinct during the end Permian extinction event. And I remember that because one of my undergrad geology professor loved trilobites. This trilobite is 395 million years old from the Devonian period and was collected in Morocco. Depending on where you purchase your rocks or your minerals, you could also get that information about your rocks and minerals. But I think that it's a more common practice to get them with fossils, just because that information can be a bit more useful. Ooh, I've got some devil's toenails, which are a kind of oyster. They are now extinct. They're shaped sort of like the worst possible toenail, which is why they're called the devil's toenails. Got a brachiopod in here. Brachiopods superficially look a lot like bivalves, like clams. Brachiopods are their own phylum. I can't remember what the common name for them is, like lampshade clams or something like that. I don't know. They're really cool looking though. Oh, I've got some amber. Does it have anything in it? I don't think there's anything in this amber. Got some mica. Oh, that's right. This is where I keep my preserved raindrop imprints. Okay, these are the pride and joy of my collection. I collected these out in the field while I was at field camp, and I am incredibly proud of them. Preserved raindrop imprints are what it sounds like. Basically, it's like a fossil of a raindrop. Rain hit the ground and it left a little tiny crater. You know how when it rains a little bit but not enough to make the ground like super wet, you'll see all these little like craters in the ground? Those are raindrop imprints. And under specific circumstances, those can actually get preserved. I think the specific circumstance is basically there has to be a landslide that buries it immediately. But those pairings of circumstances and then the additional like circumstance that requires it to get properly preserved after getting buried by a landslide make preserved raindrop imprints very rare and very difficult to find. So these are like the pride and joy because they're rare, but I collected them myself. They're incredibly fragile. They break so easily, but I'm very proud of them. Oh, this is a cool little thing. This is a clam. They're called rudist clams, I believe, and they were a major component of reefs during the Cretaceous. They don't look like clams, but trust me, this is a clam. And with that, I'm done with my nice little organized containers, and I can move on to the chaos. Editing Al here. After I recorded everything, which took a very long time, I realized that I had way too much footage to make just one video, so I'm splitting it into 2 videos. This is the first one. The second one will go up probably pretty soon because I already have it mostly edited. Make sure you come back for part 2 of my rock collection tour. In that part, I will be going over some of my favorite rocks in my collection, some of the largest ones that I have, as well as my dangerous specimens. So, make sure you come back for that. And in the meantime, I hope that you have a nice day.